Welcome to Titan HST's Business Continuity Today, hosted by Todd DeVoe, where planning meets reality.
Hey, welcome to Titan HST's Business Continuity Today, and this is your host, Todd DeVoe speaking. And first, I want to take a few minutes to remember all those that we lost on 9/11. It's coming up in a couple days, and I want to also mention, to remember all the service members who have sacrificed their youth and their blood for our country, and Semper Fi to all my Marine Corps and FMF friends and family. Get some. So today, we're going to explore design thinking and why you should use that process when writing your plan. And we've gone over systems thinking, and it kind of combines a little bit here. So what is design thinking? Well, design thinking is more than just a method and a framework to conduct a meeting, although there is parts of that. Design thinking combines the problem-solving roots of design, right? Like how do we make something such as a car, with a deep empathy for the users. And I think that if we focus on, if we focus on the end user of our plan and how it's going to be implemented, we're going to do a better job of having buy-in from those users. So the design thinking based the framework that we're going to help solve some of those wicked hairball problems that we discussed in the past. Just to remind you what a wicked hairball problem is it's many interlinked issues cutting across, the usual silos, if you will, right? It's multiple agencies and organizations that you have to scale into the plan, multiple different views of the problem and the potential solutions, and then conflict over desired outcomes or the means of achieving those outcomes, and uncertainty about the possible effects of the action. So why design thinking? Well, design thinking helps you with the planning process. Design thinking is human-centered approach to innovation that integrates the needs of the individual along with the needs and the components of the department and with those overall arching organization. It's using those pieces to put your plan together, to humanize it, and to make people want to really use your plan. The goal of design thinking is to equip the organization with innovative approaches to face contemporary challenges that are, like I said, that are interrelated, interconnected, and can have these conflicting issues that are going around. So what is the design thinking approach? When we discussed systems thinking, we focused on how to use a systematic approach to problem solving, right? Design thinking, though, like I said before, is explicitly human and human user focused, right? It's not about the gear. It's not about the equipment. It's not about finding that great technology to fix the problem. It's how does the human interact with those solutions? So we're going to focus on empathy, right? Empathy is putting yourself in the place of the user. And then we're going to talk about scaling and then prototyping and then testing. So the core to design thinking, like I said, focuses on empathy and using from the beginner's mindset. So when you go into this thing, you are the expert in business continuity planning. This is why you have that position, right? But when you go into this thing, how does somebody who's never touched and understand that plan use it? And so you have to go in from that beginner's mindset. So you have to define the problem. We call it defining. And we're going to use it from the point of view, the POV of the beginner. And that's the key part of the process. So who are your users? And so basically what you want to do is create a model user. We'll call him Bob, right? And so Bob, the model user, you want to find out in his mind, how old is Bob? What is his background? You kind of create this for them, and you're going to design the plan based around his needs, his function, and what happens. And so then when you do is you create Bob, his ideas, and then you prototype the plan, or in our case, we call that a draft copy, right? So you create the draft copy, you go through it, and you create, each of your team members is creating the draft as part of the draft copy, and then you're going to test it. So let's talk about empathy for a little bit. Empathy is the foundation of the whole design thinking process. And like I said, using that beginner's mindset is immersing yourself into that user's experience. And it's a better way, a greater way to just get deeper into that process. And it also takes away the guess less principle, right? And so you do not want to guess, right? You want to guess less and kind of create that better plan. When you bring your team together, you need to have that defining moment and define what is going on and define what the process is. And it sets it, in some cases, we call that setting your goals and objectives, right? And the goals and objectives are going to be that roadmap to get you to where you want to go. But you also want to use it, like I said, in the POV, which is comprised I could talk today, composed of 3 elements. Who is your user? What is their unmet needs, right? And why is this insightful? And that's what you're doing when you're creating that user. You want to use that concepts. And then you want to go through the brainstorming or ideate section. And the term brainstorming here isn't like that typical stuff where you just throw stuff against the walls, right? Although some of that kind of happens. But what you want to do is you want to have a concentrated on the idea, right? So once you have defined the problem, you brainstorm on that or ideate for that. And when you're going through this process, you want to defer judgment and you want to reach for quantity. And what I'm saying here is that when somebody throws an idea up, never say no. Say, okay, yep, put it on the board, right? Get those ideas together, and then you start to filter those out. And what you want to do as a facilitator is you want to keep that energy up and you want to keep the discussions up. And it's really important to do this in a collaborative, non-judgmental way. You know, when you do the brainstorming, again, I'm going to go back, right? We're going to copy this again. We're going to go with empathizing. You want to empathize with who you are doing this work for. So once you create your prototype or your draft, if you will, right, you need to go through that, read it, as long as you guys understand it, and then you need to go to the next step is going into testing. Test that plan, right? Exercise that plan. Because if you just create it and put it on a bookshelf, the plan becomes useless. Test it. And remember, when you're testing the plan, when you're testing the business continuity plan, you're not testing the people that are using it. If it fails, it's not the people that are failing. It's your plan that failed, your prototype, if you will. And you go back to the beginning and you read and you do this until the users can use this plan like it's their own. Remember, at the end of the day, this planning process is empathy and compassion. You have to use the beginner's mindset of compassion when you are designing these things. Empathy is the heart of design. It allows for the experience and situations of users to find themselves. And empathy lets you discover opportunities to make those experiences less frightening. Compassion in tandem with the beginner's mindset, it translates empathy into action. If we instill a sense of duty towards users in our design, we can also align our plans with the humans who are using them. We remain open to the possibilities that our first ideas and our first plans might not have been the best ones. And we also want to take the approach that we're gaining insights from our users as we test our drafts, the prototypes, so we can make better, useful plans. As planners, we have a real impact on how our organizations take shape, how our people experience the ideas behind them, and also the consequences of their use. I hope you have a chance to use these opportunities with empathy and compassion and design your plans that you're proud to bring into the world. So remember, thank you today for being with us. Visit Titan HST for all your communications needs and more. And remember, follow us on your favorite podcast player, YouTube, Facebook, and join us next week. Until then, stay safe and stay hydrated.